I never thought a single moment could split a relationship in two. But sometimes a breaking point isn't a loud argument or a dramatic betrayal. Sometimes it's something as simple and as devastating as a slow dance that wasn't meant for you. It happened on a Saturday night in late August at a friend's engagement party on the outskirts of Richmond, Virginia. The air was warm, the lights were soft, and the music had that slow, nostalgic pull that makes people forget they're being watched. Sarah had left my side to grab a drink, and I didn't think much of it. She was dressed beautifully that night, wearing the navy blue dress I loved, her hair curled in a way that framed her face gently. She looked happy, lighter than I'd seen her in weeks. I tried to tell myself that was a good thing. For the first half of the evening we mingled with friends, joked with coworkers, and made polite small talk with people whose names I would forget the next day. It was normal, ordinary, easy. But it all shifted when the DJ dimmed the lights and announced a slow dance for the couples. I turned to look for Sarah, expecting her to be walking toward me. She wasn't. Instead, she was standing near the back of the venue with a guy I didn't recognize. Tall, confident, hair a little messy, wearing a suit that fit like he lived in it. I saw him lean in and say something. I saw her laugh, really laugh, the way she used to laugh with me before things got complicated. Then he offered his hand, and she hesitated for only a second before placing hers in his. The music started. They walked onto the dance floor and they danced. Not casually, not jokingly, not like strangers sharing a brief, awkward moment. Their bodies were close, too close, moving with a familiarity that didn't make sense. Her head rested near his shoulder. His hands settled around her lower back. Her fingers curled at the nape of his neck as if it were natural, as if she'd done it 100 times before, as if that spot belonged to him. I couldn't move. My hands turned cold around the glass I was holding. Every laugh, every conversation, every sound in the room dissolved into a low hum behind the ringing in my ears. It felt like the universe had paused just to let me watch something I was never supposed to see. I didn't storm out or cause a scene. That wasn't who I am. I stood there frozen, trying to reason with myself. Maybe it was innocent. Maybe he was just a friend. Maybe she didn't mean anything by it. But each lie I told myself collapsed, one after another, as I watched them move together with an intimacy that didn't belong between two people who were just dancing. When the song ended, they didn't separate immediately. She kept her hand on his arm. He said something that made her smile again. Softly, shyly, almost nervously. That was the moment I knew something had already broken long before tonight. I walked outside, needing air, needing distance, needing anything that didn't hurt. The night breeze hit my face, cooler than the room had been, and I tried to steady my breathing. I didn't want to think the worst, but the picture was too clear. Sarah had been distant recently, canceling plans, distracted during conversations, smiling less when she looked at me. I knew something was wrong, but I'd hoped it was stress, work, life. Not another man. 15 minutes passed before she finally came outside. When she saw me, her expression shifted instantly from carefree to startled, then guilty. She rushed toward me. "Ethan, wait. Please don't walk away. I can explain." I didn't say a word. I couldn't trust myself to. She grabbed my arm, breath shaky. "It wasn't what you think. I swear. He's someone I used to know. Just happened. I wasn't thinking." That made it worse, not better. "You weren't thinking?" I said quietly. "Sarah." You held him like you forgot I was even in the room. Her eyes filled with tears. "I know I messed up. I'm sorry. Please don't leave. Can we just talk? I don't want to lose you." I looked at her, really looked, and in her trembling voice, her panicked eyes, and the way her hand clutched mine, there was something raw and desperate. But there was also something missing. Something that used to exist between us that I couldn't find anymore. "Talk about what?" I asked. "About a moment you should never have given to someone else? About how easy it was for you." She shook her head, tears spilling. "Ethan, please." I didn't answer. Not then. Not in that moment. Because part of me already knew something had changed, and I didn't know if it could ever be fixed. I always thought relationships ended with some dramatic explosion, shouting, accusations, slammed doors. But the night mine cracked open, it happened in a dimly lit ballroom beneath chandeliers, with a slow song playing and my girlfriend Sarah laughing in another man's arms. Actually, thinking back, there were two nights that broke us. The second one was her cousin's engagement party at a fancy downtown venue in Richmond. Etched glass windows, gold-lined walls, the kind of place where everyone looked like they belonged except me. I'd spent most of that week buried in work, barely sleeping, but I showed up anyway because Sarah said it mattered to her. I thought that meant it mattered to us. From the moment we arrived, she slipped into a different version of herself. More vibrant, more radiant, almost untouchable. She floated around the room while I lingered near the bar, trying not to look like the outsider I felt like. Every few minutes she'd glance back at me with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. That should have been the first sign. Then came him. Tall, sharp jawline, tailored suit, the kind of easy confidence that fills a room. His name was Connor. Apparently a family friend she'd somehow forgotten to mention. He greeted her with a hug that lasted a little too long, one hand locked around her waist in a way that made my chest tighten. I told myself I was overreacting. It was just a hug. People hug. But the more I watched, the more I realized something was off. She laughed louder with him. She leaned closer. She touched his arm over and over unconsciously like muscle memory. At some point her aunt came over and asked how long I'd been dating Sarah. 2 years, I said. Her eyebrows lifted. Oh, I didn't know she'd moved on from the whole thing with Connor. My stomach dropped. Moved on from what? Before I could press, the lights dimmed and the DJ announced a slow dance. Couples poured onto the floor. Sarah turned toward me, then toward Connor, then made her choice. She walked straight into his arms. Felt like a physical blow. There she was, my girlfriend, swaying with another man while her fingers rested against his chest like they belonged there. His hand slid along her back with a familiarity that made my throat tighten. She tilted her head up and smiled at him, the exact smile she used to give me when we first met. The room blurred. I didn't know if it was jealousy, humiliation, or something deeper. Like the truth rising to the surface, cold and undeniable. When the song ended, Sarah finally looked my way. Her expression flickered, surprise, guilt, something she tried to swallow before walking over. Hey, she said lightly, as if nothing had just shattered. You okay? I stared at her. Who is he? She blinked. What? He's just a family friend. Your aunt said you moved on from him. Moved on from what, Sarah? Her breath hitched. Just barely, but enough to confirm everything she didn't want to say. I stepped back. You dated him. She didn't answer. And silence is an answer. The party suddenly felt suffocating. Noise pressed in from every direction. I told her I needed air and walked out before I said something I'd regret. The night breeze outside was cold, sharp, honest in a way she hadn't been. 10 minutes passed, then 20. Sarah didn't come after me. That hurt more than the dance. When I finally went back inside, she wasn't looking for me. She was sitting with Connor, leaning in close as he whispered something that made her smile. That was all I needed. I left without saying goodbye. The Uber ride home was silent. My reflection in the window looked like a man who'd finally accepted a truth he'd been avoiding. I wasn't the one she wanted. Not really. I didn't text her, didn't call, didn't explain. And the next morning, something in me had shifted for good. Around noon I heard pounding on my apartment door. When I opened it, Sarah stood there with mascara streaks on her cheeks, breath shaky, clutching her phone like it was the only thing keeping her upright. Ethan, she whispered. Please, we need to talk. But I didn't answer. I just stared at her, waiting for the truth she'd spent 2 years hiding.